Good morning, everyone. I'm Dylan Williams-Evans, and I'm the Enterprise Officer with the University of Wales Trinity St David's. Today's session is all about the art of negotiation and the skills that we require to do so. We're lucky we've got Manjit Biant here, who's a role model with Big Ideas Wales, and he's going to run us through today's session. Please feel free to use the chat facility like you currently are, putting in any questions that we might have towards the end, or towards some of the questions that Manjit might ask us as we go along. And again, please put your email addresses in there and I can contact you after. With no further ado, I'd like to hand you over to Manjit to say a bit about Big Ideas Wales and to crack on with the session.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to be with you all. So I'm with Big Ideas Wales and part of the Welsh Government, and the idea really is all the mentors part of Big Ideas is to encourage students from all walks of life and all ages to encourage them to be entrepreneurs, to get into business, and we all come to act as a support to encourage you all. So good to be here. And I happen also to be a former UWTSD lecturer. I used to be at the business school for a few years. So it's like back at home, really. Okay. So today we're talking for the next hour or so on negotiation. And these are some of the courses that I run. So I run 2-day, 3-day courses on negotiation. So what I've done is I've tried to compact like a 2-day course into 1 hour. So let's see how we get on. But what I have given Dylan is a whole deck of slides, which I use on my 1 to 2 day courses. So you're going to get a lot more. So for those who have made the effort to attend today with me, you're going to get some bonuses. So let's get straight to it. So please, if you've got any questions, anything specific, then please write it in the chat box, and then or feel free to speak it out. Ordinarily, when I'm doing this particular course, I would show quite a number of video clips, but due to the time that we have, we will have to omit those, but I may just refer you to certain video clips that I would recommend for you to watch. So let's have a look then. Negotiation. So we're going to focus on negotiation today, and whether you realize it or not, everyone is negotiating. If any of you are parents like me and Dylan, yeah, you are negotiating every day. I'm having to negotiate every day with my boys, and I have to negotiate sometimes with my wife too. And my boys went to this habit of the pinky promise. So we do the pinky promise, right? That the negotiation deal that we have put together is bound and sealed. So the art of letting them have your own way, and that's really if I was to summarize what negotiation is about, is really getting what you want, yeah, but making the other party do that. And they be happy at the same time. I mean, that's the real skill. Success in business requires training and discipline and hard work. But if you're not frightened of these things, the opportunities are just as great today as they ever were. Unless you're born to rich parents like Donald Trump, then I'm afraid for all of us, yeah, training, discipline, and hard work is what we need. And the art of negotiation will go a long way. So let's just go through a couple of things. Looking for win-win. Traditionally, when we talk about negotiation, we always say, you know what, we go for a win-win situation. But the problem is really, when we talk about win-win situation, it ends up really being a compromise. And even then, on a win-win, someone wins and someone loses. Okay, so negotiation is not really that black and white. And so when in a negotiation, both parties need to come out of it feeling good about it, feeling that they haven't been taken advantage of, or afterwards feeling, oh, you know what, I should have negotiated better or stronger. Once you've done it, feel good about it, but always reflect and think, okay, could have done it better, could have done something more substantial. But if we keep crying over spilt milk, then it never helps in that sense. But where we really want to get to in a negotiation is where I'm feeling good about it and they're feeling good about it, and it is truly a win-win situation. So rather than so when I'm training, rather than focus on a win-win or a compromise type of agreement, I'm moving now more towards what's called collaborative. In other words, both parties working together to come up with a solution that everyone can buy into and feel good about it and have a good sleep over it as well. Men are better at negotiating than women. Okay, so let's not have a fight. Anyone wanna? What do you think? Are men better at negotiating than women? Who wants to dare say something? Anyone? Dylan, if you could just read what's in the chat box for me, that'd be great.
Yeah, the only one person who's put something there is myself, and I put no comment, Manjit.
Oh, okay. Listen, I'm a married man, right? And I tell you, I lose every negotiation, and even if I win a negotiation, I lose because when you win against your partner, you don't then get the kiss and cuddle afterwards. So the truth is, right? It's not true. In fact, it's probably the opposite. Research shows that male and female brains function exactly the same way. There may be slight tendency in males towards greater aggression. So, years back, I fell into this kind of trap where there was this book called Men Are From Mars and Women From Venus. And actually more research comes out that it's a bit bogus, really, and that men and women actually have the same brain functions. Effective negotiators don't necessarily need the aggressive capability of a hunter, even less so in the age of collaborative negotiating. So women start off with the same potential as men for being good at negotiating. In fact, it's been found that women are actually better negotiators because of the approach they take. So us men, we need to be careful. Studies show that women are better equipped than men to negotiate in the interconnected and interdependent world in which we now live. And women are also seen as being more patient, empathetic, and better listeners. And they're even considered less likely to lie in negotiations, and more important, they're in the collaborative world. So the key word really, if anything else from today, is collaboration. In other words, when we go into the negotiation, rather than think, I'm a winner, you're a loser, or you're a winner and I'm a loser, it's like, hold on, let's take the negotiation approach as a collaborative, so that we all can gain from this. Does it matter how you choose to negotiate? Definitely. It's always the best way to negotiate is if you can face to face. Email or written is the least effective way to negotiate because when you're using written format, not all of the expressions are in there, and sometimes your words can be actually misconstrued for something else. Could even be seen as rude when actually you're not being rude. Telephone is probably next best. Video next best, but nothing like face to face, because when you're seeing the face, when you're engaging, when you're talking, you've got the body language. You can see the body language. You've got the tone, and the mind connection is also more favorable when you can see and hear them. Face to face provides you with the more information. The body language is key in negotiating, and looking at body language is the course in itself. So I would recommend everyone just to go into YouTube, and there's hundreds and hundreds of videos on how you can read someone's body language. Are they showing interest? Are they being defensive? So a very typical defensive mode, you see something like this. All right. I don't know if if you look at the news, but like someone like President Donald Trump, yeah, he's always doing this, because what he's doing is he's basically playing hard to get. He's saying, if you want to break me, you need to give me some more. It's kind of like one of his techniques. We're all same under the skin. No, we are not. All right. We're all different backgrounds, or different, I say this carefully, generations. So some may be older and younger than others. Some are from different countries. Some of us have different religious beliefs. So in dealing with people, we have to take people as individuals. And also in today's world, we've got to be careful of issues of equality, discrimination, those kind of things. And so when we negotiate, race, sex, religion, all of those things should not come into the equation of the negotiation, but how we negotiate, those things should be considered, like for sensitivities. So for example, if I'm going to have a negotiation meeting, and I know that the people I'm negotiating are from the Middle East, okay, then the last thing, when it comes to food, I'm going to serve them bacon sandwiches, yeah, or serve them pork, because I know that is offensive to their faith. So if I know their culture is such, I would make sure that the food I provided would be, more in line. Or if I'm going to negotiate with the vegetarian society, I'm not going to offer them chicken sandwiches. Yeah, you see. So you want to know a little bit about where they're from. Okay. So think about what can cause conflict. So because of time, I don't want to spend a lot of this will be an exercise I would give you, but what I'd want you to think about is in your own experiences, all right, and then you can make a note of this and work through it after the talk. But I want you to think about all the times that you have been in negotiating position, yeah, and conflict came in. What caused that conflict? Was it from their aspect, or was it from your aspect? Okay, so just think about conflict. But some of the things that causes conflict is couldn't talk, no time to plan, didn't know what the other person actually wanted, and there's lots of kind of things really when conflict starts creeping in. And how many of the things you mentioned cause conflict in everyday situations where you're trying to negotiate? So sometimes it's frustrating, especially if I'm talking to someone and their English isn't very good. So I travel a lot, and I've been to countries where the English is actually quite bad, and amazingly, especially like taxi drivers. So I last year finally went to Germany, and the taxi driver really couldn't even speak English, and I was quite surprised. But so I have to then find a way, not getting stressed about the whole thing, trying to communicate how I'll get somewhere. But think about those things. Negotiation is an art as well as a science, and Donald Trump has written a book called The Art of the Deal. So, or supposedly he wrote the book, but some say he didn't actually write the book. But it's a book not worth. I mean, it's a book worth taking a look at. Number of social and economic factors have combined to create an interdependent world where collaboration, not competition, is the name of the negotiation game. So in the past, and I'm going to typically say the Donald Trump approach is very much kind of competitive, right? I win, you lose. It's very much about the competitive scenario. The new approach, really, the one that's working much better these days, is taking this collaborative approach where we look at ways how we can make 1 + 1 = 3. Information is a negotiator's greatest weapon. When going into a negotiation of any sort, the more information you have, the better and stronger position you are going to be. In one of my previous lives, I'm not talking about reincarnation, I'm talking about my previous job life. We went through a whole restructuring, and we had to reapply for our jobs. And so I reapplied for the job, and I got it, and it was supposed to be a higher grade, in that restructuring. But with that higher grade, I wasn't getting any more money. So what I did is obviously I did a little bit of research, and I thought, okay, for my level of qualification and my experience, what could I get in the job market? So just randomly in my so I'm actually a member of SEMA. So when my SEMA magazine came in, they always have jobs at the back, and I saw this one, which was literally about 5 miles away from where I was living at the time, and it was a good role. It was offering a car. It was quite good salary and everything. So I went to this website and I printed it out, and then I went to go see my manager. And I said, hey, thanks, I've got the job now, David, but I want to negotiate my pay grade, because what they did was they put me on the bottom of that grade level. And I showed him the advert. I said, hey, you know what? This is what I can, I was thinking of applying for this job, and this is what I can get. And it's paying a lot more, what can you do? And then my boss started kind of like, because his face and is like panicking a little bit. He says, "Can I have that?" So he gives it. So he takes it off me, and lo and behold, I got a few K more out of it. And if you don't do your research, if you don't do things like that, then it puts you in the weaker position. Another time, this was while I was a graduate many years or eons ago, and I was applying for a year internship with one of the big 8 accountancy firms. But what I noticed is I saw it was like an open day at the firm of accountants. So I went there, because it shows keenness. And when I was at their office, I picked up all their brochures, and one of them was about an invitation to come to like an afternoon talk. So I thought, okay, let me keep that handy. And then I started reading about their company, and I went to that afternoon talk, and I met with one of the partners. Then at the stage of my application, I put an application in, and because I did my research on the company at the interview, I asked them questions, stuff that I got from the reception, and the partner, both the partner and the senior manager, didn't even know what I was talking about. I asked them about certain things their company was doing, and they didn't even know about it. So, because I had that information, it put me in a better position. Then when they did offer me a job. And at the same time, another company offered me a job. But this particular company was Deloitte at the time. And they were paying me like £1,000 less. And I said, hold on, I can go to KPMG, a few miles away, and they're paying me the same as the graduate salary. So because they were impressed with the knowledge I had, they matched the salary. So the more information you have on, I don't want to use the word opponent, but the more information you have in the negotiation, then the stronger you have. It's called, we call that bargaining power. Negotiation is a feature of life, formal and informal. Okay, I don't know. It happens to be every time. I still haven't figured it out yet, but in all the years of being married, one thing I have learned is this. So I'll say to my wife, let's go out to eat. And then it takes like 20 minutes to negotiate where we're going to eat. Because really, when I'm saying to my wife, where do we want to eat? I already have in my mind where I want to eat. And when she comes up with something different, I'm find myself negotiating. So my wife will turn around and say, well, look, next time round, rather than say, let's go out to eat, where should we go? Why don't you just say, let's go out to eat, and this is where we're going. And then it's done. So try and always learn those lessons. 2 principles of assertion. You don't get what you don't ask for, and you get a lot of what you do ask for. Now, in other words, if you don't ask, you don't get. Again, in another job situation I had, applied for the job, and it was one of those jobs where they don't actually tell you what the salary is. It's negotiable, all right? based on experience. And so I get offered the job, and then the guy calls me, says, congratulations on offering the job. What package do you want? Okay. And I hate it when they do that, because I'd rather they tell me their starting position and then I can negotiate. But now they're putting the ball in my court. In other words, whatever package I put up, that's it. Now, if I pitch it too high, yeah, I might look a bit foolish and like to think, oh, who do you think you are? What kind of person asks for that? And then, I was thinking, oh, that would be embarrassing. But then if I pitch it too low, then I've undersold it, and then I might think I'm not worth it. So I looked at, what I'm on at the moment, and what the fact that they're offering a car. So okay, fine. I put in a rate I thought was good. And then months later, I realized that he was prepared to pay me £5,000 more if I'd asked for it. So, pitch high. When you're pitching, pitch high, and then you can then trade and then come down. So, but you know what? You get a lot of what you do ask for. And the thing is, once you've put it out there, what you want, then you've set the bar. In other words, for the counterpart to say, all right, that's a bit too high, and then they'll come down. Bearing in mind, sometimes people want to come down just because they want to feel good about making you come down. And the thing is, when I gave him my rate, he said, yeah, fine, done deal. And I thought, wow, he said that too quickly. Maybe I underpitched it, and I did underpitch it. So don't be afraid to start high, and then work your way down. In terms of negotiating approaches, we have something called what's called distributive bargaining, right? Or what we call the win-lose bargaining. So distributive bargaining is basically there's one pie, and who can get the biggest part of the pie. Okay, so this as a family, I'm always having to negotiate all the time. So especially when we get apple pie, and who gets the biggest piece. So I'm always arguing. I'm daddy, right? I should get the biggest piece of the pie. Okay. I always use the in the animal kingdom, the head lion, the male lion gets the biggest share. But then my boys would say, no, Dad, look at your waist, you're getting a bit too big, Dad. Let us boys have the biggest slice. So we're always having to, but there's only one pie to go around. Or we can have collaborative bargaining, okay, or truly what we call the win-win bargaining, where we try and somehow make the pie bigger, all right? So how on earth do we make a pie bigger? So the only way to make the pie bigger is we add in another equation. So say, all right, listen, all right, fine, boys, you have the bigger pie, but now I've got a tub of ice cream. So I'll have more ice cream with my smaller piece of pie, and you some ice cream. So in other words, we make the equation bigger so everyone gets more than what we originally intended for. In reality, when negotiating, it's never that clear cut. In other words, we will have kind of a blur between, the distributive, right, and this collaborative style of bargaining. So the collaborative style we call integrative. So distributive, where parties compete over the distribution of a fixed sum of value. So that'd be like the one apple pie. Whereas the integrative, where parties cooperate to achieve the maximum benefits by integrating the interests into the agreement. So now, rather than cry about just the one apple pie, well, let's throw in some extra. Let's throw in the tub of ice cream. And so now we've got two things that we can share out. And to be honest, there's only so much apple pie and ice cream you can eat. So everyone then feels good. Everyone's won, and no one feels like they've been hard done by. And that's where we call the integrated style of negotiating. Certain skills for successful negotiating: effective speaking, effective listening. I always, think of it this way: you got two eyes, two ears, and one mouth. So we should look and listen twice as much as we talk. A sense of humor goes a huge way, okay, into easing negotiating. Positive attitude, respect, the parties. Have self-confidence, have confidence in yourself, and use emotional intelligence. I'm sure the UWTSD can run some courses on emotional intelligence, but emotional intelligence is really, respond to how we deal with and handle our emotions. Persistence. Being persistent is good, yeah, but not to the extent where you become annoying. So be careful of that. Patience, and be creative. So in a negotiation, you're always looking for areas where, okay, you know what? What if we explore this, or what if we can take it from another angle? In other words, be creative in the solution to negotiation. And I always like to look at a negotiation as a solution. In other words, you have two or more parties coming together, and it's not about a win or a lose or compromise. It's about what is the effective way that we can deal with this problem. In other words, we're negotiating over a problem, and let's find a collaborative way for a good solution, and be creative about it. Negotiation approaches, principal negotiation where participants are problem solvers. I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, so here's an example where you can be creative with the negotiation. And years back, my father, I would definitely call my father a master negotiator. And back in the day when, video players, video machines were quite gigantic, we saw an ad in the paper, and it was his shop was called Jimmy's, right? Jimmy's Electricals, I remember. And in the ad, it will say, Jim will fix it. Because obviously at that time we had Jimmy Savile. Jim will fix it. And so my father went, and they had this thing where, if you buy the TV and the video package, they'll do a deal, and Jimmy would give like throw in a shaver, throw in a little kind of on these little holiday things, and and a little small thing. So he'd throw in these little kind of extras to sweeten the deal. So my dad kind of got to a particular deal, and then my dad would throw a wobbler in, because my dad would also bring my sister, who's also married, and then they say, okay, well, what if my daughter now buys the same package, right? Now what you're going to do for us, right? So my dad would really kind of really take Jim to the bone, and then take him further down to the bone, because now we're buying 2 TVs, 2 videos, and everything else. So my dad managed to get an upgrade portable TV with all that. And then my dad's still kind of pressing the buttons. Now, obviously, Jimmy wants to fix it. Jimmy wants to get the deal. So he's thinking, okay, how can I sweeten this deal, right, and make Mr. Biant very happy? So next door to Jimmy, he had 2 shops. He had the electrical shop, but he also had a video store, a video rental store. So he turns around and says, another time, me and my brother were teenagers, he turns around and says, okay, look, looking at the boys, looking at me and my brother, he says, look, I've got the video store next door. I'll give you 50 free video rentals, right, each. So 50 for my family, 50 for my sister's family. So that's like 100 free video rentals. And, in those days, video rental was around about £2, £2.50. So that's almost worth about £250, £300 worth of video rentals. Now, for Jimmy, that cost him nothing. he had his videos. And, if he doesn't rent it out to one person one day, they'll rent it the next day. So Jim was creative. He said, okay, I'll give you £300, £200 to £300 worth of video rentals, which was costing him nothing. But to us, it was a value, because the video rental was a valuable thing. Oh yeah, you know what? That's good. That saves us money on the videos. So try and be creative and try and find ways where you can be happy and also cost effective. So it's about being problem solvers. So, the compromise position is not where we want to be. That's really traditionally what we call the win-win situation. But true win-win is where we collaborate, be creative, and we all feel good about the situation. Please, if you've got any questions or thoughts, please, do butt in. Creating and claiming value. So, all right, we have something then called the zone of potential agreement. And that's the route to the win-win situation. And it does require cooperation. And really what we're doing in negotiation is to create value, expanding the pie. 1 + 1 = 3. How can we expand the pie? Yeah. And all be happy about the situation. Claiming value, your slice of the pie, potentially zero sum. But the bigger the pie, the more value there is to be claimed. Now, I've got a friend, he works for, well, he's on sabbatical now because of what happened with Virgin Airlines, but he worked for Virgin Airlines. And what Virgin would do cleverly with their pay negotiation, in other words, you get your pay, you get your bonuses, but what they would offer to their staff to say, hey, it's part of the package deal working with Virgin, is you get discount Virgin Media, you get discount Virgin phones, you get discount services on Virgin banking. But the thing that kind of really made Virgin employees really, really happy at all levels was, subject to availability, you can fly business class for next to nothing. So if you want to book a holiday and you're prepared to go standby, subject to availability, not only is your flights for your whole family is a couple £100, but you can be upgraded to business class absolutely free. Now, for an individual, flying business class for one person is about £2,000. Flying it for your whole family, you're looking about £4,000 to £5,000. For Virgin Atlantic, it costs them next to nothing to upgrade someone to business class. Yeah, they get the extra champagne, they get probably slightly better food, more food, all right? So from Virgin Atlantic, it costs them next to nothing to upgrade a member of staff to business class, but for the staff member, that's huge. So Virgin used that as part of the negotiation package, to attract staff. So again, it's about how can we expand the pie? How can we create value? And at the same time, being, cost effective. Now, whenever I don't know about you, but, every time I negotiate, every time I have to do a meeting, every time I have to present, even on Zoom, you always have this kind of the adrenaline going, the butterflies, the fear. But here's two definitions of fear. Fantasy expressed as reality. Okay, in other words, sometimes we fearful about something, but in reality, it doesn't really exist. Okay, and fear, false evidence appearing real. So what I want you to think about is, every time you go into negotiation, think about what are you fearful about? What are you anxious about? All right. And you'll find most of the time it's not really real. It's not, sometimes we imagine these fears when they're not really there. So in a negotiation, and really what we want, okay, is to find out what they want. So you know what you want, you find out what they want, and then you're going to look for this, what we call the zone of potential agreement. And what we want for both parties is to have that zone as big as possible, all right? So we want to find that zone, and then we work within that zone to try and make sure that everyone's needs and wants are satisfied. So think about then, know what you need, and obviously there's a difference between need and wants. So you've got to prioritize between what you actually need and really what you want. And then you map all the constituencies. In other words, you map all the key players and all the things going on. Anticipate what the other party needs. Identify their agenda as fast as possible. And then, if it's a team, then you build your team. If it requires a team. In the negotiation, really, we want to try and understand actually what is their interest. So an interest is a desire, concern, goal, or need that drives a position. An interest is what caused you to come to a conclusion. And what we want to do really, we want to try and negotiate on the interest, not actually on the final position, because sometimes people may have a position, but if we can understand actually why they want that position, then we may actually find a good solution once we understand what the interest is. So two aspects to negotiation position is the position is a solution to the underlying issue, and the position is what is decided upon. So know what you need then. So the position is desired outcome. It's a decision designed to protect the interest, but the interest is the reason why an outcome is desired, what caused the decision, what your positions attempts to protect. So I could be applying for a job, and obviously people assume, oh, he's applying for a job because he needs the money. Yeah, but maybe I don't need the money. Yeah, maybe I just want to get out of the house, get out of the way, get away from the wife and get away from the children, and I can be out of the house for 8 hours. I'll take any job because I just want to get out of the house. So my interest in getting the job maybe because I want to get out of the house, not because I actually want the money. So in a job negotiation, yeah, they might be trying to play hardball. I'm saying, look, just give me the job. I'll take anything because I just want to get out. So once we know what the interest is of the other party, then that can either strengthen, yeah, or weaken the position. Because if the other party knows that my interest is just to get out of the house, then they'll offer me next to nothing because they just want to, get out of the house. So understand the interest is important. So focus on the interest, not the positions, and that obviously requires improving the communications. So positions is the what, all right, and these are the proposed solutions, but the interest is the why. So a why, you want those positions. So once we get to understand where the person's coming from, it helps us then to create a better solution, for a collaborative win-win approach. So some common interests are acceptance, fulfillment, accountability, opportunity for import, relaxation, all of these things. And love, we all like love, isn't it? So an interest then is the why underlying the position, is usually more objective than the position, may need analysis to reveal, may change with changing circumstances, and then your own interests may be shared in part with the other party, different but compatible with theirs, and in conflict with theirs. So sometimes what I'll do in a negotiation then, I'll tell them the reason why I'm taking this position. And then once I tell them the reason, because I'm hoping that if I tell them the reason, yeah, then it gives them opportunity to find some creative way to meet really what I want, my needs. So trying to sort out the ZOPA, yeah, we focus really on the interest, what I'm interested in, what they're interested in, and then we try and come into an agreement based on interest. So example, in interest will be quality is essential to the project's success. Adequate time is needed for quality control. And then the position is the project schedule must be extended into August because of quality issues. So you're specifying a position, but then actually the reason will be because you actually want quality is essential. So you're going to give more time towards that, as an example. 3 thoughts on interest and position. So the real issues in conflict management and negotiation are interests, not positions. And look beneath positions, find shared and conflicting interests, and skilled negotiators resolve conflict by uncovering all interests and seek to build on common ones. Then moving from positions to interest, then we ask why. So in a negotiation, ask why. Why would you want that, or why are you asking? Try and find out more. Consider all options and combinations of options that might satisfy your needs. Be flexible. Ask why not. Use your interests to clarify key issues and formalize and rank your objectives. Identify potential deal breakers and trade-offs. Remember that a few negotiations are purely about the money. All right, so we want to make sure that we take a holistic perspective on negotiation, and it's not just about the money. Okay, I always find it's about relationships. Get the relationship right, and things do fall into place. Consider the other's interest. It is legitimate for them to have interest, otherwise there would be no point negotiating. And be positive. Consider how attractive this deal is to them and where they might be without it. And consider potential deal breakers and trade-offs from their perspectives, and consider the personal interests of the other negotiators as well as those of the organization they represent. Now, one thing just to consider, let's say you're in a very strong bargaining position and the other party isn't, all right, you could really squeeze them, you could really take advantage of them, which in some cases is good and well. Fine, you can do that. In other situations, though, if you need to ever go back to them again for other things, then if you screw them the first time, then they're going to be less willing to kind of you know go the extra mile with you the next time. However, if the other party realize that they're in a weak position, and you make it known to them that they're in a weak position, and yet you give them a really, really good deal, that will make them feel, or give them the feel-good factor. In other words, that they can see that you did not take advantage of them, and on that basis, the relationship from their perspective is going to be very positive and warm and open, so that in the future, if ever they can reciprocate something of value to you, they will. So, in other words, you have to make a decision when you can exploit your bargaining power, to your advantage, or is it to the advantage for the whole relationship and things going forwards. What happens if there's no deal? That can happen. What is your best alternative to negotiated outcome? What is your backup plan if agreement fails? So we call this the BATNA, all right? So this is the best alternative to negotiated outcome. And identifying, developing a BATNA involves creative thinking, okay? And it's something really worth thinking about as you enter into the negotiation. So before you even negotiate, you're thinking about what's my alternative, what's my bottom line, and at what point then do I walk away. All right. And by the way, if you're going to set a bottom line, you need to stick to it. Sometimes we may call a bluff, and if your bluff is called, then you're stuck. So developing a BATNA, assess all the possible alternatives in negotiation, explore and rank these, choose the best. You're only going to have one clear BATNA. Don't be tempted to have lots of alternative ones. You're very likely to be able to invoke both in practice. Try to improve your BATNA prior to negotiation. A strong BATNA might negate the need for negotiation, and a weak BATNA might inject a sense of reality to your negotiation approach. And if time allows, try to assess the other party's BATNA by using guesswork, prior experience, and research. And bearing in mind, they're going to try and do the same to you too. So your BATNA tells you when to walk, not when to sign. And we have something called WAP, walk away price. So in any negotiation, it's important you keep your WAP to yourself, especially if it is significantly less than your initial offer. So using your BATNAs, so establish your BATNA, define their BATNAs, and then using your BATNA, okay, to come to a creative deal. If you don't know where you're going, you will probably end up somewhere else. And I don't know if that's ever been your experience, but it does happen. All right, gosh, time has really crept up on us. Do we have any questions or any thoughts, any issues that you've had in your negotiation, and you think, any advice? Please feel free to ask. One thing, while you think about a question, if you have one, one thing I would recommend as well is in a negotiation, or even when you're talking with people, I want you to start listening out. So this is kind of like a little bit of homework for you. I want you to start listening out when talking, and people most of the time will say yes, but. Yeah. Anyone ever come across that, where they're talking, they say yes, but, or let's go out, yes, but, let's go to this restaurant, yes, but, and what happens is really when we're saying a yes, but, we're saying, actually, I don't agree with you. Yeah, I think your idea is rubbish. So in a negotiation, when you have lots of yes, buts, it can end up being quite confrontational. So what you can do is try and get into the habit of, when you're talking, instead of saying yes and but, say yes and. Okay, so yes and. So let me give you an example, right? And it's a good job my wife's not listening to this conversation, because it's all about her. But my wife likes salads, right? She's like salads. Out of the two of us, she's the healthier one. She'll go for boiled baked potatoes, right? And I'll go for the chips and the fried wedges. I think they taste better, but I know they're not healthier. So when we're planning to go for a restaurant, so for example, I'll say, let's go to the I was going to say Indian restaurant, but I'll say, let's go to the Chinese restaurant. Okay, let's go to the Chinese restaurant. And my wife would ordinarily say, yes, but, it's all greasy and I don't get the salads and everything like that. So that kind of puts the negotiation into a little bit of a combative area. Okay. Whereas, if my wife suggests let's go out to eat, okay, so her preference, like in Carmarthen, she'll have a preference, and the restaurant just escapes my name for the moment, but it's where they have like healthy foods and healthy salads. It's like on the high street, and she'll say, oh, why don't we go here? Treat me here to this place. I'm thinking, I was, my thoughts say yes, but then I thought, oh yes, because I know I can get that nice little pastry at that place too. So what I do then is, rather than be negative about it, I'm thinking, oh, actually, you know what? We can go to that place. Fine, I don't get the Chinese or what I like, but I know I can get that really nice kind of pastry, because I've got a little nice kind of pastry element. And because I'm vegetarian, they've really got a good vegetarian option. I get the vegetarian pastry. So yeah, she gets a plate full of salad, and I get my plate full of kind of pastries. So it works out as a win-win. Well, fine, I didn't get the Chinese restaurant, but pastries are equally just as good. So what you need to do now in your negotiation is to think about ways, rather than being negative about something, the yes but, all right, let's put a positive spin on it. Yes and. Okay, so I remember another example would be, okay, we eat here, right? And afterwards, can I go to McDonald's and buy the apple pie, the apple pastry? So you can see I got fascination with apple pies. I do like apple pies. So if anyone ever wants to give me a gift, apple pie will go good. So I would then add an extra benefit to say, fine, we'll eat your salads, and then I'll go binge out on some apple pies at McDonald's, around the corner. So it's about looking at ways how we can both achieve something that actually, is agreeable to both of us. Yeah, fine, I'll have the salad and I'll have the apple pie, and she'll just enjoy the salad. And in any negotiation process, let's look for the yes and. Now, for time, okay, I just want to go quickly over 7 steps of negotiation. Okay, so process for negotiations. Process is important in negotiating any deal and provides structure. And most people understand that negotiation has a beginning and an end. Hopefully we have a happy ending. Most people don't realize that there are normally 7 stages for negotiation. So let's have a look. So we start, now obviously due to time, we're not going to be able to go through all the contents of these 7 steps. So what I'll do, I'll just quickly summarize the 7 steps, and then those of you who have requested to get a copy of the slides, there's a lot more information there that goes into each of the steps separately. But we prepare. So preparation is important. We prepare by gathering knowledge. We prepare by finding everything we need to know for negotiation. We prepare thinking about our needs, our wants, actually what is our interest, what is our partner, and then we once we've done that preparation, then we kind of look at the atmosphere. In other words, is it your place or my place, or a neutral place? Can also affect. So think about the atmosphere where the negotiation takes place, and obviously for any negotiation, we want the most positive, conducive atmosphere to get the best results. Think about the wants and needs of each other. So in the discussions, ask the whys. So what do you want? What do you need? I don't know if, I'm assuming, nearly every single person in the world that has a TV has watched Game of Thrones. So, one of the things about Tyrion Lannister, the dwarf, all right? So one thing about him, in every major conversation he has with people, and you see it throughout the whole series with him, is he'll ask, what do you want? Simple as that. Once he knows what you want, then he can figure out if he can give you what you want. So once he knows what you want, he'll know, actually, you know what, I can't give you what you want, right? This is the best I can give you, but it's not actually what you want. It's an alternative to what you want. So think about what you want, okay? Now, when I've got a customer service issue, in other words, I've got the issue and I'm bringing up customer services, the best outcome I can have, or the best conversation I can have with someone in customer services is, Mr. Biant, what would you like us to do? Right. And then when they say that, that's some music to my ears, because now I know this is not going to be confrontational. They're willing to say, okay, what is it I want? And they're going to go every mile to see if they can follow through with that. So, and likewise, when you're dealing with your customers, that's the best question you can ask them. What would you like us to do? In other words, what do you want? And there's a way of saying what you want. Or you can say, what is it you'd like us to do? So you're saying the same thing, what you want, but you're saying it in such a kind of nice, open way. Okay. Be prepared to give small concessions. Giving small concessions, okay, is and it's really, be prepared to give small concessions. Sometimes in negotiation, you've got kind of concessions up your sleeve that you don't actually have to give up. Don't give up all your concessions at once. Okay, if you need to give up a concession, then fine, you trade concessions, but don't give all your ammunitions away when you don't need to. Making the offer. So make the offer. Someone has to make an offer, and then you kind of negotiate, you bargain. All right, so you bargain and think, okay, and then once you strike the bargain, you close it. You shake hands on it. If it's formal, you sign a contract on it, or you just say, a yes, that's great, thank you, much appreciated. And the other thing I find in any negotiation process, it does not harm at all to be courteous and to be friendly and smiley. Doesn't mean you can't be assertive. There's a place to be assertive. There's definitely not a place to be aggressive. By all means, be assertive, but in any negotiation, good or bad, it doesn't cost you anything to be friendly. It doesn't cost you anything just to smile. It's funny, when I look at some of these politicians on TV, they're always smiling, even when it's a tough question, or even when it's like bad circumstances, they're smiling until you really press the buttons. But by keeping smiling, it just makes the whole thing less confrontational. All right, so we've kind of been together for about an hour or so. So I don't want to then go into huge details in all of those areas. Okay, but you have a set of the slides to go, to go through each of those areas. Do we have any questions? Any burning desires to learn things? What I will do while you're thinking about some questions, if you do have any, I'm going to jump, all right, to, with your permission, I'm going to jump, all right, just a section, all right, on, by the way, I'm kind of just showing you what you're missing here, so that's what happened. You just there for an hour, but how we handle, okay, objections. So in a negotiation, you are going to have objections and you're going to have concerns. So I want to close really then my side to talk, really some of the things you're going to come across and deal with. It's unlikely that in attempting to close a sale, you'll get an unqualified yes, although anything is possible. And the more likely scenario is that the prospective company will raise some objections or concerns that you'll need to understand and respond to in order to convince them that these issues are totally solvable. So how you handle objections or concerns can make all the difference whether you close a deal or not. So let's have a look then. First thing with the objection, listen. Listen to what the objection is, okay? Don't think what the objection is, listen to what the objection is, and then clarify that you've got this right. So ask the questions, think, all right? So think about how you're going to respond. Deal with the person, okay? So you're dealing with the person, then deal with the objection, okay? And then try a close, try a solution. In other words, you're going to work through different solutions until you can close the objection. All right, you're going to come across these, but hopefully most of the time you're going to have happy conclusion. So I'm going to just share quickly then while we close this. In fact, it happened this week. I was I ordered online from a branded company. Yeah, I ordered online a number of tins. I had an offer with American Express. American Express will have an offer. So if you spend over £20 with a particular company, American Express will give £5 back to me if I use the Amex card. So I thought, okay, I'm always up for a deal. All right. So I ordered online. And I found a product. I've not had this in years, and I thought I'll get a load of these. We'll eat over Christmas, and they were in cans. So I ordered like 30 cans, okay, of this particular product, knowing well I'm going to get some money back from American Express. So I ordered the cans, and the cans literally came, out of 30 cans, 4 were missing. And all 26 of the cans were dented. When they arrived, the packaging was bad, all dented. All right, and it was quite annoying, really. So, okay, I ring up the company. So first of all, I took pictures, emailed the company. I thought, okay, I like email because email can be less confrontational, but email is slow. So I get email back saying we've got a backlog of emails. So I ring up the company and I think, okay. How are we going to handle this? So I give my order number. I said, I got a problem with this order. 4 cans were missing, and all 26 cans I arrived, right, were damaged. And by the way, when I'm not talking about cans of beer, in case you're thinking what cans I'm talking about, right? It's actually canned food. And they were damaged. So I'm thinking, okay, what they're going to say? They're going to want me to send them all back? Are they going to, just want me to justify it? Or, Mr. Biant, can you not live with it? So they said, oh, Mr. Biant, we're so sorry to, to hear that. What would you like us to do? Right. And I was so relieved. I thought, oh, you know what? This isn't going to be as kind of hardball as I thought it could potentially be. So I said, well, I asked, I said, what are my options? All right. So I thought, okay, let's ask what my options are. So she said, well, we can replace the cans for you, or we can refund your money. What would you like? So both options were very agreeable to me, by the way. So I said, what? I still needed the cans. I said, can you send me some replacements? She goes, oh yeah, we definitely can do that. And basically keep the dented cans anyway. They can use them. But we'll send you a replacement, and then we'll also send a note to the warehouse and to the delivery company that please be careful, because they were dented last time. So literally yesterday I got 30 cans, right, as replacement, and unbelievably 25 out of those 30 cans were dented again. And so I thought, oh. So I rang up last night again, sent pictures, rang up the company. So, I got this replacement. I said, unfortunately, 25 cans are dented. And then the guy basically said, oh, Mr. Biant, oh, so sorry again. And actually, rather than say what you want, he gave me the option. He said, we can either replace it. Do you want us to send them out again? Or do you want your money back? And I thought, you know what? I think there was, let's think of it. If I ask them to send me the cans again, I get to keep all the old cans. But, it got to the stage where I said, please just give me my money back. I'll take my money back now. I think enough's enough, because I've got no confidence in your company that you'll send the cans in good condition. But I thanked them, I appreciated for the help, and I'll still do business with that company because the way they handled their customer service. So that was a kind of a happy negotiation that I had. Any thoughts, questions, comments? Anyone want to share? Anyone dare to share any of their negotiation experiences?
Whilst we're waiting, Manjit, I'll just share a quick one. When I went to buy a car a few years ago, there was a local car dealer, and then there was one, a large one from Cardiff, that I would meant buying the car online, whereas the one in Carmarthen, I was able to go and sit and talk and to the person, take the car for a test drive. When it came to negotiating price, I obviously knew what the car was worth that they were charging me and what they were looking to charge me in Cardiff. When I told them the price I could get it in Cardiff, they said, sorry, we can't get anywhere near that price. So what I said was, what is the best offer you could do? They came down to a level that was a little bit more expensive still. But because I worked with them, I'd taken their car for test drive, I'd taken up their time, I really wanted to do a deal with them. So I said, look, how about if you can give me a free service for my car, which is worth £200 to £250? And they said, yeah, we'll give you your first free service for the car. So by doing it that way, I was able to get a deal that I was happy with, and they got a deal that they were happy with. And as I said, because we built up that rapport, we both left happy with that deal then.
Yeah, that's a fantastic example where rather than come to like a walk away from the deal, you came with a creative solution. Okay, throw in a service. Yeah. Now, from your perspective, the service is worth £200. From the garage perspective, a service is probably only worth like £30 because of all the parts, and that's the real cost, and the other cost is really labor, which they've got anyway. So it works out as a win-win situation. I'll just share one more example where if you don't dare, you don't win. A couple of years back, I needed at the time I used to do a little bit of media work, and I needed a super VHS player, and this super VHS player would be anywhere between £600 to £700. I mean, it was an expensive video machine. So I rang around a few companies, and I came across this one company. It was on Edgware Road, and they said he asked me, which was good of him. He said, "What's the cheapest price you've got so far?" I said, "Well, on this particular machine, I got an offer of I think it was £600." And he says, "Oh," I said, "that's a good price." He says, if you do the deal, I'll do it for £580, for you. Okay. So I thought, okay, let me think about it, and I'll give you a call back. And I thought, he's doing it for £580. That's actually quite a good price, and that was including free delivery. Then about 2 days later, I thought, you know what, I'll do the deal. So I ring him up, and I said, "Do you have?" And I played it kind of cold. I said, "Do you have this model in stock?" And he said, "Yeah." He says exactly the same thing. "What's the best price you've had on this machine?" I said, "Well, ringing around, the best price I got was £580, right?" And I didn't tell him it was him that told me £580. I just said it was £580. He said, "Oh, Mr. Biant, that's a good offer, because I tell you what, if you do the deal with me right now over the phone, I'll do it for £540." So I got it £40 cheaper than he originally was intending to do it, which was £60 cheaper than the nearest price that I got it. So you know what? Don't be afraid to negotiate, to be a little bit bold, and was I honest? Not honest? I could have told him, oh, by the way, you told me 580, but you know what? That I think that's his fault, really. He needs to be careful how he negotiates. You know, he should have said, well, 580 is good. I'll do it for 580. I'll match it. He said he wanted the business, not realizing that it was him that offered the 580 in the first place. So in a negotiation, don't be afraid to ask. They can only say no, as long as really what your line is, and you're not going to be offended by the no's. That's the important key thing.
Another question I have, Manjit, I
Yeah.
think it's relevant for everyone else, is a lot of things that people in business do, they send out quotes. Okay, now that is a form of negotiation. Obviously, that's a lot more difficult because you're not having the one-to-one and trying to build up a rapport. But a lot of businesses, they say, I need 3 quotes and make a decision from there. How would you recommend they pitch their quote, which is an art of negotiation, so that they have a chance of winning the business, but they haven't got necessarily the one-to-one? How would you advise them on that?
Okay, so what ideally, okay, it's about relationships. So when I'm doing business with someone, for me personally, it's not always going to be based on the cheapest price. Okay, I like doing business with people who I like, okay, or they like me, or there's some kind of relationship. Like you say, we had with the garage person.
Yeah.
So my advice, where possible, and I know it's not always going to be possible, my advice where possible is, by all means, give a quotation, but ask, all right, depending on the business that you have or the service you got, ask if you can come visit them. All right, ask if you can come, do a demonstration or showcase, or see, like you might be, for example, you might be selling some electrical equipment. Let me come and do a demo. Or you might need a new garage door. So I remember I needed a new garage door, and because I live a little bit out in the sticks, no one really wants to come and visit me, so they just do it all online, and they get these online quotes. I'm thinking, yeah, but I don't really know you from Adam. And so I'm less inclined or more careful about doing business. But if someone came out and sees me and looks at my garage, measures up and say, hey, this is what we can do, based on the quote, then yeah. And some also say that, here's our quotation, please, feel free to give me a call. Or I would always follow up with a call. So if you do, so you might be giving a quote to someone who lives 50, 60 miles away, and it might not be brilliantly convenient for you to go and travel 60 miles to see someone who may not even be a sale. So you can send them, email the quotation to what it is, and then follow up with a call 2-3 days later and say, how does the quote come across? Is it competitive? If it sounds warm, say, would you like me to come out and take a look, and then we can fine tune the quotation. So the more you can keep people talking, the longer you can keep the communication line open, the higher the chance you're going to have in clinching the deal. But far too often, I've had quotes come through and I've had no follow through. I've had no email or phone call. I've not even had people confirming that you received the quote. It's like they send the quote and not really bothered enough to follow up. So remember, it's about people. So if you remember it's about people, always try and do face-to-face. At least always try and follow up with a phone call, and always give them the opportunity to come back to you and say, hey, we're open to negotiation on the price. So yeah, that's what I would do as a business person, when doing it. And I'm faced all the time. So when I'm in the work that I do, people are asking me. So I prefer doing business with people who say, this is the price. And I say, okay, fine, I'll go with that. But when they ask me, how much am I going to charge for my services? It's like, all right. Again, if I pitch it too high, yeah, then I'm going to price myself out. If I pitch it too low, people are going to think, oh, he doesn't think much of himself because he's so cheap. really? He's so cheap. Why do we want him? And then if I come in the middle, it's like, okay, he's the same as everyone else. So anytime I negotiate, all right, it's not always about the price. So I've got to at least give something to the other party that differentiates me from everyone else. And that's where relationships comes in. Even if you're just a likable person, someone more likely to do business with you because actually, you know what, we like you. We like your attitude. We like everything about you. So, you know, if you can budge a little bit on the price or whatever, we've got a done deal. So in summary, try and build a relationship is the way to surround the quote. That's how I would do it.
Thank you, Manjit. As I said, we'll have a quick chat here for now for the next 30 odd seconds to give anybody a chance to put any final questions they might have. Please, guys, take this opportunity. As I said, Manjit is not just a role model, but he's an expert in this field. It's almost your chance to have a one-to-one with a viewer to ask him a direct question. Please feel free to do that. If not, Manjit, thank you very much for today. It's been a wonderful session. I know I've gained a lot out of it, and I'm sure all the participants have as well. A quick question has just come in here now from Ben. If we are going to extra mile to improve a business relationship, but they don't reciprocate or show signs of doing so, how do we understand when is best to either stop or keep going further?
Okay, so this is coming back to the needs and the wants, all right, and how desperate you are to close the deal. So if I'm going the extra mile, okay, to improve the business relationship, it's fine. If it means getting the deal, but also I have to weigh up the more extra mile I go, yeah, how much is this going to cost me, right? And how much is this going to affect me? So if I can give the extra mile and throw things in, and I know it's not going to cost me much more, or it's not going to be that much effort, then I'll keep going. I'll keep going. And obviously once the deal is closed, yeah, I may still keep going. Because again, I look at relationships for the longer term. If I'm doing business with someone, you never know when I may need to do business with them again. But only you can really answer that about going the extra mile. The other thing I'd also advise you, if you can, is, you know, I always kind of like to under promise and over deliver. So if I under promise something, yeah, and I clinch the deal, but then I over deliver, then from the perspective of the other party, they're really happy. You know, I've gone the extra mile. It didn't actually cost me that much more to do the extra mile. It didn't actually require that much more effort. And for the little bit of extra effort, if it means a huge amounts of reciprocating benefits sometime in the future, even good. And the other thing as well is never underestimate. So when you say there's no signs of them reciprocating, you never know what's going on in their minds and how they may reciprocate in the future. I just give just kind of like a slightly deviated example of this. Years back, I used to run my own business. I had a property business that I was running, and we would use a particular supplier. So we'd use this person. His name was Paul, and he would clean all the properties for us. So once tenants would leave out, he'd go and industrially clean the carpets and everything. And we'd use him, fair bit. When he would send me his invoice, it was 30 days trade terms on the invoice. But it's because I liked Paul, right? I thought he was a great guy, and also he was very flexible. In other words, I knew he would go kind of extra mile for me. So when his invoice would come in, I would pay it the same day. I wouldn't wait 30 days to pay it. And it was coming to Christmas time, and he came into my office and he said, "This is Manjit, I just want to," and he gave me an envelope. I said, "What's this?" He goes, "It's it was £60 worth of restaurant vouchers." So in other words, he said, "Please take, you and your wife go out a meal on us." I said, "Oh, why? That's nice. Why?" He says, "I've noticed that every time I send you an invoice, yeah, I get the money the same day. And I really appreciate that. I really, took note of that. And when I left that, I sold that business and everything. And years later, I needed his services for one of my dad's for my dad's house. And he goes, man, as I'm really busy at the moment, right? But he says, I tell you what, he says, if you're not in a rush, right, which I wasn't really in a rush, because if you're not in a rush, um, I'll do it 2 hours. I'll do 2 hours work every evening after my normal work, right? Me and my wife will do it as a favor for you, and we'll do it over, a week and a half. And I said, oh, I really appreciate that, Paul. Now, he only did that, one, because we had a good relationship. In other words, he wanted to keep that relationship going. And secondly, when I got the invoice from him, I was like unbelievably shocked how low he charged for that. So it's about relationships. And years later, you may need to come back to these people. And when they saw in the past that you dealt with them very good, they will reciprocate to you, guaranteed. Not guaranteed, but more likely they're going to reciprocate, to you for that. So yeah, please, think about negotiation, about relationships. Keep those relationships going. Keep them open. And the cheaper it is for you to go the extra mile, yeah, do it if you can. Under promise, over deliver is a good way to go.
Thank you, Manjit. Thank you, everyone. I think a big thing to take from today is people do business with people they like. I think that's a general rule, not just for negotiation, but everything to do with business. So the more people you can talk to by networking, I think that's the greatest way to do business, really. Any final top tips, Manjit?
No, to be honest, relationships. Develop the relationships and follow up. Always follow up. And I think that's the key things, really.
Yeah, I think that's a really good, valid point with regard to quotations. If you say, I will ring you in 3 days' time to discuss it, or even before offering to do a quotation, just say, hi, am I able to have a quick telephone conversation with you to understand exactly what you're looking for from a quote, perhaps? There we are. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Manjit. All the best.